Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nedolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. And if you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. With that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? Today's first encounter. I used to live in the southwest corner of Missouri in an old railroad town that had quite a few missing people here and there. I lived in what we called the holler, at the bottom of the tops of two enormous hills. A creek ran through the holler, but was mostly dry throughout the year. Despite it being dry, living in what was basically a ravine makes the land and hills damp and misty. The woods surrounding our trailer were perpetually green year-round and thick. You could walk in one direction for 10 minutes and get lost. Generally, we kids used the creek bed for a path, as there were flat rocks along it that were easier to navigate than the viney, lush forest floor. One day in the middle of the summer, I decided to go for a walk in the woods. As usual, our red-nosed fatty came along. The sun would be setting soon, but I was home alone a lot at that time, so there was no one around telling me not to go. I figured I had enough time before sunset to walk to a certain point and back. It was 7:30 and the sun set around 9 at that point of the summer. The minute I started trekking through the creek bed, my pit bull started whining. He didn't leave my side once, but was reluctant, stopping here and there to smell the air, looking behind us. I figured maybe there was an animal in the area, so I didn't worry too much. There was a point in the creek bed where I had to duck under two fallen trees. It made sort of a bridge in the middle of the creek and acted like a turn point for most of my walks. My dog was still whining, and I began to wonder if there was a cougar or even a bear in the area. But for some reason, I just wanted to keep walking. I ducked under the trees, shushed Fatty, and stopped to listen to the woods surrounding us. I heard nothing. I heard literally nothing. No wind, no snapping twigs, not even a bird. Even on the calm days with no wind, those woods were usually teeming with sounds and life. Nothing was ever still, but now it was. It made my stomach feel like it was dropping down into a pit. Then I began to feel really strange. I can't describe it. It was a gut feeling, but suddenly my body felt very queasy and oversensitive, and worse, I had the distinct feeling that I was being watched. I felt similar feelings when being watched by a bear. It's weird, but something tells you to get the hell out of Dodge when there's a huge animal nearby. Humans are animal. We get these instincts. Every time I had experienced an animal that could potentially hurt me in the woods, I had immediately turned around and went home. My dog had always alerted me by barking or growling, but not this time. Fatty was scared and trembling. I'd seen this dog get hit by a truck before and get up like nothing happened. He's terrified. All the signs pointed to leaving, right? But no, another weird thing happens. Call it being an edgy teenager or anything else, but I felt this strange pull into the woods. There was no sound, but I felt like something was calling me, luring me deeper into the woods. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever felt in my life. But I was so curious, I wanted to know what the hell wanted me to wander further inside. I walked further, aware that my dog had firmly planted himself at the fallen trees. He was shaking all over and yelping at me as I walked away. He didn't come with me. He also didn't leave, which I believe potentially saved my ass that day. I left Fatty behind and eventually got to a part of the creek that I had never been to. It was a clearing with a ring of trees surrounding it, with the creek stretching far ahead and going around an unseen corner. The sun hadn't moved. It was still silent. I stood in this place for a minute and considered turning around. The clearing was creepy and felt devoid of everything. I can't explain it well enough. It felt like if I had walked around that corner, which was about 100 feet away, that something terrible was going to happen. It felt like something was just waiting for me to walk into it, unsuspecting. I brushed it off as paranoia. I had plenty of sunlight left, and I could explore alone for once. Besides, if there was something drawing me further in, I might find something amazing, right? I took a couple more steps, and suddenly I heard my dog yelping frantically behind me. Startled, I turned around quickly. My dog looked like a little white speck far back into the trees. He was pacing back and forth at his spot and barking like it would kill him if he didn't take off running. He kept lunging forward, but wouldn't move any distance forward. I finally realized that something was very wrong. I turned around again to look back at the clearing. It was pitch black outside. I shit you not, seconds ago the sun wasn't even close to going down below the horizon, and now the stars were out. No sun, no light. I stared hard at the trees around the corner, seeing nothing but elongated shadows. I heard a twig snap, and suddenly my ears started to ring, and panic flooded my entire body. I whipped around and shot back towards the fallen trees, sprinting toward my dog. He was snarling and barking like mad, and when I ducked under the trees, both of us sprinted back toward the house. The entire time I felt like I had death on my heels, and Fatty never once ran ahead of me, staying right at my side the entire way back. When I made it home, I checked the clock. During a walk that usually took 10 minutes, I had been gone for 3 hours. I left my house at 7:30 and arrived home at 10:30. My parents were due home in an hour. The next day I walked only part way to where I could see the clearing. The very furthest I could have walked was about 2 miles, and it took 3 hours? To this day I have never felt so prowled upon in those woods. These woods weren't part of a national park, but if you walked 10 miles or so, you could reach Mark Twain National Park. People go missing there often, seeing as the woods can be impossible to navigate after dark, and have large howls in the middle of the woods that people can roll into and get stuck in. I don't know what wanted me in those woods that day. I didn't see what it was, and it said nothing to me, but I ignored every natural instinct I had to run until it was almost too late. My dog being there may have been the reason I didn't wander deep into the woods of Missouri and succumb to something in the dark. I've never told anyone in my waking life about this. Today's second part is an actual abduction story from the person it happened to. This is part of the interview that he shared. In the spring of 1999, it was a beautiful, nice day. This gentleman was at the Crater Lake National Park. He was going to see the huge lake, the bluish water. He said he was sitting down by a couple of groups near the lake area. After dark, he was kept there and didn't realize it was getting late, too late for him, and he was supposed to be back to his mom by 7, but failed to come home right away. He said the whole area had no people, but soon after he forgot the way back. He was sitting and forwards after he saw a light, a whitish light in the sky that was going for him. It looked like it was going to crash. He thought this was all a nightmare or a dream. He was stuck on the ground. He was injured for no obvious reason. He was trying to get out of the area. He didn't know what was going on. He kept saying, "What's going on?" He got onto a tree. A huge-looking thing, that was an oval-shaped thing, was right near the tree, and the thing he described had stairs that were coming off of it. All of a sudden, there were no stars in the sky, no noise, just the sound of silence, and the oval thing had a door that was getting something in it. He was still on the tree. The thing had a robot something. It had no eyes. A head was roundish, with all gray, with red steel tag on it. He then described another robot coming out that had blackish hair that was trying to get him off of the tree and was trying to abduct him for an hour or more. He was staying on the tree for an hour while the thing had lights coming out of it that was white and making noises, a roaming noise. The robots got angry, he said. He had to sleep in the tree for an hour, and for 3 minutes everything was gone, and it was sunny. He described it was a howling nightmare. He never had any illness or needed any meds. He told his family, and people are saying it was just a nightmare. The story was announced in 2011. Really quick, I shared this because I am obsessed with Dogman, of course, but these missing people phenomenon have really struck my fancy. Well, Crater Lake is known for a lot of things. There's been numerous Dogman, numerous Sasquatch, and numerous unidentified flying objects, whatever they may be, in the area. But if you think about, the guy's a kid at the time, and if you think about what he's describing, and he calls them robots, but there's a red tag, which almost, the description almost sounds like military, red tag, but yet the second robot had hair. I'm really thinking that, along with, because I know for a fact deep down inside, my heart of hearts tells me that a lot of the missing people in these national parks, and frick the national parks and state parks, all over the forests of the United States, okay? Whether it be your neighbor's backyard, you could disappear. Something bad could happen. So I'm thinking that, yes, there are cryptid abductions, not even abductions, attacks, but I'm really thinking the military has something going on. Some sort of alternative motive here. There's the belief that, we made a pact with aliens to take a certain amount of people, but I think that's not true. I don't think that is true. I think the military is doing something. And I know that this doesn't really fit into the category, but once again, I'm not saying this jerkishly, but it's my channel and I wanted to share it because it's fucking weird. And I really, honestly, I get the feeling just from this man's interview, because since the interview was made public, he has since just gone off. You cannot find the interview anymore. It's just, he's gone. Video evidence of the interview, gone, everything. So I'm thinking the military involvement. I don't know. I just wanted to share it. So I hope you guys don't mind too terribly. But if you do, oh well, sorry. Today's third part of the upload. Back in 2002, 2 weeks before Christmas, I decided to go coyote hunting by myself. I was having trouble sleeping. No one knew I had even left. It was about 11:30 at night, no cell phone of any kind. Bad idea. I started my trek, as always, down a well-used trail until I reached a steep section covered with multiflora rose bushes. However, I had previously cut a path, and it wasn't hard to navigate, even in the snow that had been falling. I continued down the hill until I reached a large ravine that sets not too far behind my house. Then, moving to my left, I went about another 100 yards or so to where the terrain planes out and you can cross a shallow stream. I crossed the stream and proceeded to walk up a long, snow-covered hillside trail. After reaching the top, I went into action, setting up all my gear, finding a spot with a good resting place and firing lanes. My back rested against a large pile of crushed slate. A shotgun leveled across my knees, I quietly sat there, getting colder and colder as more snow covered me by the minute. After 45 minutes or so, I decided it was time to quit and packed up everything. This is when things get a little scary. I grabbed my red, filtered, 1 mil candle-powered field spotlight. When I turned it on, that's when I saw it, around 10 feet away, nose to the ground in my direction on all fours. The light coming on didn't even startle or faze this creature. It's like it knew right where I was, and knew the light would be on it in any second. It then took a step toward me and lifted up onto 2 legs. It didn't creak or crack when standing up. The only noise that I could note was a low, deep-sounding pop in the rib sternum area. It reached out and puffed its chest out as if it wasn't big enough. I'd have to say it was at least 7 to 8 feet tall with 5 fingers on its hand, 2-inch claws. This Dogman cryptid canine never did open its mouth, so I can't comment on its teeth. It took a step towards me as I had my shotgun already leveled. I fired a shot at it, hit it right mid-upper section of its ribs. Mind you, that hitting something this close with a 12 gauge usually causes a major hole. Nothing could walk away from it. I was using number 2 shot, and the wad would have barely opened by the time it hit the creature. The shot let loose a mist of blood in the red-tinged light of the spotting lamp. It let out a loud yelp, then tucked its ears and ran to my right. It made it out of the light circle in 2 strides. I fired 2 more times at it, but it was much too quick and I missed. I got up and started walking in the direction it ran, forgetting momentarily to reload my gun. I walked for about 10 feet and found a large pool of blood, then walked a few more feet and found less. This process repeated until I was 30 feet from where I initially started. There was no blood, just footprints. It's as if this thing could quickly regenerate or something to heal itself from such a massive wound. I stopped and realized how stupid I was for going after this thing that I had just wounded. I didn't know if there may have been more of these creatures in the area or if they hunted in packs. I just thought I had encountered a real-life werewolf. I then trudged home in the night with a surely wounded God knows what potentially circling me the whole way. I took my time getting back. It took me 2 hours to walk what would normally take me 20 to 30. I made it back home, went to bed, never spoke of that night again until 2019. I hardly hunt anymore due to health problems, but even if I was healthy going back out there, you would be always looking over your shoulder. However, I am working on getting a group of professional cryptid researchers to come take a look. Now, I narrated this encounter a couple months ago, about 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm friends with him, and I reached out to him last night, and hopefully I can get him to come on the show and talk with him. He definitely needs some help, some real deal help though, not the BS posers that are self-proclaimed, you know. I mean, you need some mil-spec teams out there to really do the damage. Anyway, moving on. Today's final encounter. Here's the deal. I never believed in Dogman, Bigfoot, shit like that. I just never really paid any attention to. I honestly didn't realize good folks actually believed in these things. Today, I'm far too ignorant to really have a stance. I believe something is out there. Actually, I know there is. I believe cultures call them by different names. I'll end my thoughts about this because of my ignorance. The more I discover and research, the better I get at this. For years, about 15, I've been puzzled by something that happened to me in the woods. I didn't see anything. It was a sudden feeling. For background, I grew up in the woods, hunted, fished, camped, explored, played war when I was a child. Never had any fear. I love the woods. I will say, not much of a hiker, but I've been hiking a few times. Just would rather be fishing or camping or just fucking off in the woods, climbing trees, building forts, mountain biking, parking, walking half a mile into trees to the stream I know exists just for a few drinks of fresh water. The point is, I've spent a lot of time in the woods and I enjoy it. I'm comfortable. This only happened once. I've charged through the trails in pitch black without a flashlight, just knowing the trail, nice. Nights I snuck out to parties from my uncle's home with my cousin. Never once felt fear. Maybe fear that my uncle might tear into us when we got home, but never fear of anything in the woods. One night in high school, me and my pals were deep in the woods, and this friggin' howl. I don't live in wolf country, and this was no human, clawed into the night air, and really scared a lot of us, but didn't bother me at all. The one time I was scared in the woods happened in daylight. At the time, my commute to work was about 30 minutes. A little long, but not bad. Every time I'd drive to work, I'd drive along a small river. The river was backed by thick woods. At one point, the trees opened up to a brief clearing where there was an old barn, or stables for horses. I don't know these things. I'm not a farmer. But the structure was old and impressive, and I wanted to photograph it. Every time I passed this structure sitting in the clearing on the other side of the river, I felt like I just needed to bring my DSLR and go and shoot the damn thing. About half a mile past the structure on the road, I was on a pull-off where there's a footbridge to cross the river onto a heavily wooded other side. One day I did bring my camera. I was dressed for work, nice pants, dress shirt, tie, typical shit. I was only about 25 years old. I had no fear at all. I pulled into the pull-off, got out, crossed the bridge. It was summer. It was hot but nice. I made my way into the woods, down to the structure. The river was loud, so there weren't your typical forest noise. I just heard the river. The structure wasn't that impressive as I originally thought. Neither were my photo skills. I didn't have a wide-angle lens, so I really had to be creative to get what I wanted. Either way, it really didn't kill it. I wasn't happy about the situation, but it was a nice day, and I was just happy to be out in the woods. As an adult, I don't get out into the forest nearly as much. Then something just was off. Friggin' off. Fear and panic suddenly grabbed my soul and screamed, "Run!" That's what I did. I ran. I didn't hesitate. I didn't try to calm myself down. I didn't look behind myself, to my left, to my right. I ran. I ran all the way to the car, about a half a mile, pure sprint, and my adrenaline kept me going. I got to my car and drove to work. I honestly never thought much about it because nothing really happened except for me getting spooked. Well, I never thought much of it. Whenever I passed that point, since the structure had been ripped down and paved bike path goes through it now, I think about it. I've read stories about people experiencing sudden terror in the woods since reading and researching things on the internet. The more I read about these incidences, the more I realize something happened in the woods that day. Something was there. I've actually thought maybe something was out there with me, and I just sensed them. Maybe, but no. I've run across people in the woods. I don't freak out about that. I've had people walk right up onto me. I've pissed down a bank onto an old man fishing once. I didn't even get startled when he was like, "Hey, what the hell?" Something was there that day. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and honestly what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.